What's up, guys? It is Tuesday. You know what that means. It's time for another whiteboard video, and once again, we are busting out the big whiteboard. A little bit of news today that actually kind of plays into the point I'm going to try to make in this video, so that's kind of cool. The Seahawks just traded for a safety from the Detroit Lions, Quandre Diggs. He was one of their starting safeties. He was the heart and soul of their defense. He's a pretty good player. He's not great, but we just gave up a fifth-round pick to get him, getting a seventh-rounder back, so you could basically say we traded a fifth-round pick for a safety who seems good enough to start in the NFL. So I am on board with that. Before I say anything else, I want to establish I think that is a good trade. I am happy with that trade. I would do that trade again if we went back in time before we made the trade. You guys get me. That's a good trade. And I think other people are going to be happy. Other Seahawks fans are going to be happy about it just like I am, because this secondary kind of has a reputation of not being very good right now. And whenever I live stream, whenever I look at the comments on my YouTube videos, I see a lot of comments saying, we got to get rid of these safeties. We need a true superstar cornerback. We need to trade for Jalen Ramsey. We need to go get Chris Harris. We need to do this and do that. I see all these comments about the secondary. And I get it. The defense, especially the secondary, is not what we're used to seeing from these Seahawks. Ever since 2012, the secondary has been otherworldly, and starting last year, it became a normal NFL secondary. And this year especially, we got, Earl's not in town, Sherman's not in town, Cam is, long retired now. It's different. And I understand that people are out there saying we need to go get another Hall of Fame, All Pro type of defensive back. But I wanted to drill down into some of this and offer some perspective on the way the secondary is playing versus what the real problem might be. Now, this is really important, guys. This is important for the here and the now, and it's important for the future. But the here and the now, I don't know if you guys heard, but Pete Carroll had a quote after the Ravens game on Sunday. He was asked about the decision to kick a field goal on 4th and 3, the 53-yard field goal in the rain. And what he said was basically, if we did not kick the field goal, we were going to punt it. Basically, we were never going to go for it on 4th and 3. And the reason he gave was, that's just not how we do things, which that really kind of flipped a switch in my head. I have never called for Pete Carroll's head, but when this season ends, I think it's time. I think it's really time. It's going to be useless. It's going to be a useless gesture. I don't think Pete Carroll's going to go anywhere until he wants to go. And, if we have a bad season and things fall apart this season, maybe he will. But it will be time for me to actually switch off from I wish Pete Carroll was better at game management to I think we need to move on from Pete Carroll. And I understand it's going to be useless, guys. I understand we are not going to fire the best coach in franchise history until he decides, hey, I want you to fire me. So, or until we have 3 losing seasons, I guess. But that's really what it's going to take. So, basically, what that quote establishes, when I heard him say, that's just the way we do things, I realize nothing's going to change. Nothing is ever going to change with this guy. He is going to want to win games with his defense, his running game, and his special teams. Even though through 7 games this season, our running game is average, our defense is bad. Best case scenario, it's below average. And our special teams is atrocious. If you don't know what DVOA is, go look it up. But in DVOA, that is the story that is told. DVOA tells me that we are somewhere between average to terrible in those 3 categories, but we are elite at passing. DVOA says we are the second best passing team in football. And we have a coach who doesn't want to win with the passing game. And it's not going to change. So if we want to make something with this season, if we want to make something with the next few seasons with Carroll, the defense just has to play better. There's no way around it. The coach expects the defense to play good, and if they don't, he's not going to suddenly go, oh, well, my defense sucks, I got to do something else. He's going to go, well, either the defense is going to get better or we're going to keep losing. So The defense has to find a way. And look, I think that if our pass rush gets healthy by December, they are going to play a lot better. I think it's going to be a good pass rush. If we can get Anza, Clowney, and Reed and Green and Quentin Jefferson all on the field at the same time, I think the pass rush will take care of itself by the end of the season. So it's the other stuff. Like, I see people ragging on this secondary. So let me go through the list here. These are advanced stats mostly. I found them on Pro Football Reference. They only started doing this a couple years ago, but basically they started including coverage stats for defensive players. So pay attention here. Writing is a little small, but I'll try to verbalize. So here are the coverage statistics for all the players who play key roles in our secondary. These are defensive backs. Shaquille Griffin gives up just under 2 catches a game on just under 3.5 targets a game. So he is only getting thrown at 3.5 times a game, not even. And he's on the field for 99% of the snaps. That's a completion percentage of 54.2. Gives up 19 yards a game, so that's like 10 yards a catch, basically. He's given up 1 touchdown, and I think it was to Vance McDonald against Pittsburgh on the goal line, but I could be wrong. Someone wants to correct me, feel free. No picks yet. Quarterback rating of 84.2. Pretty solid from your number one guy. If he could find his way to an interception, which he has had a couple of opportunities this year, that QB rating would look even prettier. But also, I decided to throw out missed tackles because that's fun, and it's going to accentuate a point I'm trying to make. 4 missed tackles so far this season for Griffin. His missed tackle rate is like 12.1%. Trey Flowers, he's the guy who gets picked on a little bit because Shaq is playing so well. He gets targeted 5.7 times a game, gives up 3.6 completions, so that's a 62.5 completion percentage. Only 42 yards a game, though, so he's not giving up a ton of big plays or anything like that. You will take 42.6 yards on just under 6 targets. He's given up 1 touchdown. He's gotten 1 interception, though, which is nice. First career interception. Quarterback rating actually lower than Shaq, 83.1. So pretty good. He's missed 6 tackles so far this season through 7 games. Tackle percentage is like 14. So it's similar to Shaq. He just has more opportunities to miss tackles because he gets more tackles. Jamar Taylor, who's played nickelback, he hasn't been here the whole season. But again, this is mostly per game. He gives up a completion and a half per game on just over 3 targets. So that's a completion percentage of 47.4. Really nice stuff from a nickelback. And I know he doesn't play a ton of snaps. I know we don't play the nickelback that much, but on a per snap basis, pretty solid. Just 16.5 yards a game. No touchdowns, no picks. Quarterback rating of 63.3. So when opposing teams are targeting Jamar Taylor, they're not doing much. That's good stuff. And no missed tackles yet for him. Ugo Amadi. Now Ugo has only played like 28 snaps on defense so far this year. He averages like 4 defensive snaps a game. So I don't want to really judge him on any of this. It doesn't mean anything, but he's given up he's been targeted 4 times so far in his career. 4 times, given up 4 completions for like 32 yards total. So, the average is 0.7, 0.7, 4.6 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, exactly 100 quarterback rating, no missed tackles. Not judging Amadi based off the little bit of time he gets on defense. Bradley McDougald, who, by the way, I am terrified that the Quandre Diggs trade means that McDougald's going to miss a lot of time. He might even go on IR. Because the Diggs trade means one of 3 things. Either McDougald is really hurt, Delano Hill is really hurt, or we're done with Tedrick Thompson. It has to be one of those 3 things. So please, God, don't let it be Bradley. Let me expand on that. He's played 6 games so far this year, gives up 1.2 completions per game on 3 targets. That is a 39% completion percentage. That is really, really good. I know he's a safety, so it's not the exact same standard as a cornerback, but it's still really good. 12 yards a game. Even the completions he gives up, they're not big plays. He averages like 10 yards per completion. No touchdowns given up in coverage. He's got one pick. Quarterback rating of 28. So when McDougal's in coverage, good things are happening for these Seahawks. He's also got 4 missed tackles. His missed tackle percentage is 13.8, pretty much in line with the other 2 corners that we have on this team. Tedrick Thompson. All right. So this is the guy who hopefully will be the odd guy out when Diggs is integrated in the defense. Gives up almost 2 completions per game, 1.8, on just over 2.5 targets. That's a completion percentage of 69.2, almost 70%, 44.4 yards. So the completions he's giving up are big, and we know that. We saw the John Ross one. We saw the God, what's his name? The Ravens guy on the first drive of the game. I can't remember his name, but I really think that 50-yard completion that Lamar Jackson hit on the first drive against the Ravens might have been the end of Tedrick in Seattle. So that is bad. He's given up 1 touchdown to John Ross. We all know the play. 2 interceptions, which is the only reason why these stats are even salvageable. He does have 2 picks. Quarterback rating of 97.9. It's not good. What I can say is that he's only missed 1 tackle this season, 5.3 missed tackle percentage. So maybe that's why he keeps getting burnt out there. He's one of the best tacklers we have in our secondary. Delano Hill, the other guy who might be injured more than we know right now. He hasn't played a ton. I think he's played in about. I think he's only gotten significant snaps at safety in like 3 games, maybe 4. But 0.3 completions per game, half of a target per game, so 67% completion rating, but only 10.5 yards. I think all of the yards he gave up in coverage came on the flea flicker to Juju against Pittsburgh. So other than that, you could honestly say other than that flea flicker, he's been pretty good, I guess. No touchdowns, no interceptions, quarterback rating of about 110. Problem is, he's only got 7 tackles this season, and he has 3 missed tackles. So 30% missed tackle rate. So in a secondary full of players who don't seem like they're tackling that well, he might be the worst. Maybe that's why he can't win the job over Tedrick. Lastly, I'm going to cover this guy, even though he's really only played in 1 game, seriously. Marquise Blair has not given up a completion yet. He's been targeted, I think, 3 times. I think he got targeted like twice in the Baltimore game and once in a previous game where he came off the bench. So 0s across the board. He has not missed a tackle yet. I just put him up there because I think he's going to be important going forward, but no completions given up for Blair yet on 3 targets. That's the important part. So you're looking at this and you're saying, the cornerbacks are good. I put some cornerbacks up there, and they're all playing fine. None of them are giving up a ton of big plays. McDougal's good, according to these numbers anyway. We probably have something at safety with Blair. So why is it that people are acting like we need to go trade for Jalen Ramsey? I know that that's a moot point now, but why were people acting like we should have? I never understood the Jalen Ramsey stuff. I kind of get the Chris Harris stuff just for depth, but this all seems pretty good to me. The only guy who is sticking out like a sore thumb as being really bad is Tedrick. And maybe Delano Hill because he's a shitty tackler, but I don't see how this is really the problem with our defense. We're giving up a lot of stuff in the passing game, but I don't see this as the problem. So what is the problem? And I'm going to go to a place that in the preseason and before the season started, I didn't think I was going to have to go, but I want to take a look at equivalent stats for these linebackers. These linebackers that we love so much in Seattle, so much that we play 3 linebacker sets constantly. Everyone else in the league is playing 3 corners and 2 linebackers, or sometimes even just a 1 linebacker. We put 3 linebackers out there 75, 80, 85% of the snaps because we think these guys are just incredible. So we need to have a conversation about this because It's not the defensive backs that are failing us in coverage. I'm sorry. It looks like it's these linebackers. Let's go through it. So Bobby Wagner, future Hall of Famer, Gold Jacket man, All Pro, Pro Bowler. Will probably do all that again this year. Tackle machine, big playmaker. We all love Bobby, but coverage this year, in coverage. And I'm not going to put this all on the players, by the way. What I'm about to say, some of it is on the players, but I'm going to put a lot of it on the coaches, and I'll get into that later. Bobby Wagner, per game, gives up 2.6, so just over 2.5 completions per game on just over 3 targets for a completion percentage of almost 82. So when teams target Bobby, they're getting good results. 27.6 yards per game. So it's not like these are 2 yard completions, negative 5 yard completions, 1 yard completions. These are completions down the field. He's given up 1 touchdown in coverage, no picks, quarterback rating of a glowing 118.4. It's not good. These are not good coverage numbers. And 4 missed tackles, which is high from Bobby, but still only a missed tackle percentage of 5.5. So, you know, clearly a good, capable player, but he's getting beat in coverage. KJ Wright. Now, I don't even have to say this. I think all Seahawks fans know what's going on with KJ in coverage. And these numbers line up. These numbers are consistent with what I'm seeing on the field. 4.3 completions given up per game on almost 6 targets. Opposing teams are targeting KJ Wright in coverage almost 6 times a game. Completion percentage of 73.2. Almost 40 yards per game given up in coverage. So again, these are not screen passes that go for a 5 yard loss over and over. He's given up a touchdown in coverage. He's got a pick, which has saved his numbers a little bit here. QB rating of just under 90, and 2 missed tackles. Missed tackle rate is 3.3, so that's still really good. He's doing his job there, but in coverage, we better be happy that Mark Andrews dropped all those passes against us on Sunday, because Mark Andrews could have boosted these numbers significantly if he knew how to hold on to the ball. But KJ did force one of those incompletions in fairness, dropped passes kind of in fairness, but KJ was getting beat like a drum. And Michael Kendricks, we need to have a real conversation about this dude right here. 3 completions a game on under 3.5 targets. That is a horrible completion percentage of 87.5. 23 yards, give or take, 23 yards per game. 2 touchdowns in coverage. No picks. Quarterback rating of 122. Oh, and by the way, I know this was what you were all waiting for. 14 missed tackles. That is 2 a game. His missed tackle rate is almost 30. That is highly unacceptable for a linebacker. So, what we see in Kendricks at this point that warrants putting him out there on 80% of snaps, I have no idea. So, look, I don't see how this up here is really our problem. Maybe Tedrick, but we all know that. Maybe Delano Hill's tackling, but it's really not. But that hasn't been a huge factor this season because he hasn't played that much. I'm really looking at these linebackers who seem like they are not as fast and they just can't keep up like they used to, especially KJ. But Bobby also has to be pointed out here as a dude who seems like he's just a little slower and a little less capable. And it's not about the players even, guys. Here's the thing. I just said all this negative stuff about Bobby and Wright and, even Kendricks to a certain extent. I'm not really mad at those 3 guys. This is why I say there's bad coaching going on here. These guys cannot cover very well, and we are putting them in coverage constantly. KJ Wright is defending athletic tight ends that are faster than him down the field constantly. When the game was on the line against the Rams, we put KJ Wright on Gerald Everett, and Gerald Everett made him look like a 50-year-old man because he's Gerald Everett and KJ Wright is KJ Wright. That should not be something that we're trying to do when we're trying to win a game. we put Michael Kendricks on John Ross on a play in week 1, and John Ross got a touchdown. We put Michael Kendricks on, frick, I think he tried to defend Juju Smith-Schuster a couple times. I know KJ Wright was trying to defend Juju Smith-Schuster a couple times. He was put on Odell Beckham Jr. a few times. That's where a lot of these numbers come from. So it's not the players. This is what I'm talking about when I say there's bad coaching. We have evidence that our defensive backs are good. Griffin, Flowers, Taylor, with what we've seen so far this year, you can play those guys. You can win with those guys. Flowers, he's getting picked on a little bit, but somebody has to get picked on, and he's holding his own. I don't have a huge beef with what he's done so far this year. Now we have Blair, and hopefully soon we're going to have McDougald. Diggs is coming in. Amadi, we haven't really seen anything from him yet. We don't know. Hill has some strengths. Why are we not getting these defensive backs on the field more? Why are we obsessed with getting Kendricks on the field on 80% of our defensive snaps when he can't cover and he can't tackle? The only thing Kendricks is good at is rushing the quarterback. He had 2 sacks against Arizona. He's got another quarterback hit somewhere. Other than that, he's not doing anything good for us when he's on the field. He's either getting burned or he's missing a tackle, sometimes both on the same damn play. So when I call out the coaches, when I say negative things about Ken Norton Jr. and, going forward probably Pete Carroll, this is what I don't get. Why does Kendricks deserve to be on the field more than Jamar Taylor or Ugo Amadi? Or now, we'll see what we do with Diggs. Hopefully, because Diggs has played nickel corner before. Hopefully we slot Diggs in at nickelback and have him sub in and out, which maybe Jamar Taylor. And that'll be our 3 cornerback set going forward. And Kendricks can, go ride the pine and come in on, 3 linebacker sets when it actually makes sense to have 3 linebackers out there. But even without Diggs, why is this happening? This doesn't make any sense to me. It has to stop. We have coaches that are not doing a lot to help us win games right now. And that's, we can live with that. But what we need are coaches that are not going to make decisions to help us lose the game. And with decisions like this, they are helping us lose games. We're already bad at game management stuff. Pete Carroll is terrible at in-game management, especially with a team like this. This team is constructed to win with their play of their quarterback. And he wants to put the game in the hands of guys on defense who just aren't that good. At least they're not playing that good right now. But at the very least, we need to be putting our best defensive units out there. And clearly, with the way he's played so far this season and with the way the NFL is headed, Michael Kendricks can just not be part of that. And, honestly, I think that Ken Norton Jr., this is his last year in Seattle. I don't know if it's him who's doing this. There's a very good chance that it is. But I know that Pete Carroll can override that shit if he wants to. And the fact that he hasn't, the fact that he's just, rubber stamped putting Kendricks out there over and over and over to watch him miss tackles and get burned, that makes me wonder. I can, to a certain extent, I'm used to the bad game management because he's done that his whole career, and most coaches are bad at that. This, I don't get. This makes me think he needs to go. All right. That's my video. A little longer than I wanted it to be, but this is crucial, guys. We have a flawed coaching staff, but they can do some things well. One of the reasons why you have Pete Carroll is because he's a defensive back guru. But what is the point if you don't put your defensive backs on the field? Like, next week we're playing the Falcons, and I expect to win that game either way. But this Falcons team, they have talented wide receivers. And what the hell do you think is going to happen if we try to have KJ Wright or Michael Kendricks defending Julio Jones or Calvin Ridley down the field? I can't say Mohamed Sanu because they just traded him. But those guys are going to get destroyed in coverage if we ask them to do that. So don't ask them to do that. That is the main thing that I think this team can do right now to get better on defense. Because right now the defense is at best below average, and we need it to be good. Play more defensive backs, Get the 3 linebackers off the field. Get Kendricks on the bench. Let him play 20% of the snaps or 25 maybe. And let's see if we can win with some of these guys up here. All right. Peace out. Go Hawks. Hope you learned something today. Hope you found it interesting at the very least. Big day in sports tonight. Definitely going to be watching the World Series. We're going to watch the start of the NBA season. Exciting times. See you later.